Welcome, everybody. This is the Energy Medicine in the Spotlight member series. And today we have Corinna Kromer. She's a Healing Touch certified practitioner and also a Healing Touch Professional Association member. Corinna was born in Greece, educated in England and the United States, and currently lives in Colorado. She widely and is internationally admired as both a great cook, an energy medicine professional, a lifestyle coach, and she's recently written a cookbook as a means to share her experiences and culture with the world and promote good, healthy, and nourishing habits. Corinna believes that wellness starts from within. Good food and a joyful state of being are essential to our well-being. She enjoys cooking Greek and Mediterranean dishes and recognizes the pureness and vitality that is available to us when cooking with fresh ingredients. Over the years, Corinna, in an effort to tend to her own family's health challenges, she learned to adapt recipes and offers delicious dishes in gluten-free and dairy-free versions. And she's so excited to share some of her allergen-sensitive Mediterranean recipes and remind us that cooking is not only an act of love for body, but also for the soul. Corinna has written a beautiful cookbook, which we're going to talk about. So Corinna, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Amelia. I'm so excited and so honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, it's been a long time coming. We talked about this quite a long time ago. So I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, no, thank you.
Well, let's start with you in your professional healing touch world. So, Corinna, if you think about yourself as a healing touch practitioner, what does that mean to you?
Great question. Healing touch has really changed my life. It took me quite a bit of time to fall into the space where it became my own. And I know Healing Touch offers that so readily because we have such wonderful training. So we all take our time to kind of really feel that in a heart. But it has given me the possibility to share what I have learned in a compassionate way and to help my family, my friends, my clients to find that space where they too can feel better. And in a time of high stress like today with COVID going on and everything else that happens in our lives, we find ourselves very often in a place where high anxiety takes over and we just don't feel well. We don't feel 100% ourselves and who we could be. So Healing Touch has offered me the possibility to give others that gift of really feeling good in who they are, feeling good in their body, feeling good in their spirit, and also finding that emotional stability. So I'm very grateful to be able to share that with the world.
Yeah, that stability that's, within us that we have to just unlock and open those special doors to. So, Corinna, I know that you have, so many wonderful tools in your toolkit, and I would imagine integrating some of these tools in your toolkit has evolved your practice. So I'm curious, about your journey with Healing Touch, how it's evolved, how you started.
It's kind of ironic because I was actually called in to come into a Healing Touch 1 class with a friend. She said, hey, I don't want to do this alone. Can you come with me? And I said, well, I'm already dabbing into energy medicine. I know a little bit about it. It sounds like fun. Sure, let's do it. And it just so turned out that she did not follow the path, and I did. I went all the way through with Healing Touch, became a certified practitioner, and that whole journey was so amazing, but it seamlessly fit in with everything else, with the way that I was raised and with what I was doing at the time of pursuing more my spiritual side and understanding and remembering more of who I am. So it still is a great journey. It keeps going. I don't think we ever stop learning, right? And with all the wonderful things that you share with us and all the opportunities that we have to take other courses out there and all kinds of things that Healing Touch program offers as, evolving professional in that field, it just keeps filling my heart, really. I feel like this is the time to tap even more into our hearts, to become more compassionate, less judging, to really step into who we are as a human being and acknowledge the people next to us as such as well, and bring in that unity. And over the years, it just has been phenomenal how that has evolved. I simply have been listening and saying yes to spirit. And so it brought Healing Touch my way, and it continues to do so. And it's an amazing blessing. So it keeps changing.
So, and I'm so curious because I know that you do different things like lucid hypnosis, NLP, the life coaching, and I was struck the first time we met and talked with each other how radiantly happy your eyes are.
Aw, thank
Oh,
you.
you know, your body particularly just glows. And now that I know you have a cookbook, I'm sort of curious, like, what your relationship with food is with Healing Touch, or what, you know, is there a connection there?
There is, there is. It kind of ties into what I was saying earlier about really coming more into our heart space, right? And enjoying life from there, finding that spirit within. Joy comes from within. And I believe that our body is this vehicle that allows us to navigate this lifetime, right? So as such, we have the choice of giving it good fuel, you know, taking care of it, giving it service, you know, just like you would take your car in to get serviced, you do the same thing with your body. So you take that self-care, right? You take time to listen to your body, because the body communicates with us, but the only way that it has to communicate is through emotions, through feelings, through aches and pains and dis-eases, so to speak, right? Is a very different form of communication that we're not necessarily in the habit of listening to. And in fact, many of us are so busy throughout the day that we just don't have the time to listen to our body. So my whole practice revolves around teaching and reminding people how to listen. Cooking is one part of that, right? So cooking is something that like when I was brought up, and I was brought up in Greece, right? And at that time, you know, our borders were closed. We didn't really receive, you know, we didn't have foods coming in from, let's say, I don't know, Mexico and kiwis from wherever it is that they come from. I can't remember anymore. But just, you know, we had what we grew. That was it. So during the winter times, we had seasonal produce for the winter. And during the summer times, we had what thrived then. And we would can things. My grandmother sometimes would can things, and we had some things available. But for the most part, you ate fresh for what was available. And so I was raised that way and understood much later the importance of that vital life force that comes through when a food is freshly picked under the sun, raised with care. You know, my grandma and my mom, to this day, my mom owns an organic farm in Greece, and that is her joy. It brings her so much pleasure to go out there and work with the ground and take the produce and go to the farmer's market and share that with the people and see their smiles on their faces. So it tends to our soul, but it tends to our body too, because we need those building blocks in order to stay healthy. We need that vital life force that not only comes from the sun, right, that grows a beautiful tomato, but then it comes into our body, and it is exactly those building blocks that we need to have a harmonious existence with our body. So this is where this cookbook came from, because I wanted to share what I had learned and how I grew up, and especially because friends have been asking me for years, can you share your recipes? Can you do cooking classes? And my husband and I actually used to teach cooking classes at Whole Foods for a long time. And the Mediterranean class was always packed. So I thought, you know, what better way to empower the world to take this on and make changes for themselves than to teach them how to cook a nice, wholesome meal. And that's where it was born.
You know, I just hear the themes of you teaching and sharing, you know, sort of like visioning you as a practitioner of good food for
Oh, that sounds great.
I just got this beautiful image of you sort of in the whole foods of the world, you know, teaching both how to return to essence and happiness and joy, but also tapping into that which is here with us in our own boundary, just like we, as if we are Greece, cut
Yeah.
off, and we have this beautiful inner landscape that you can show us and steward us to our own healing. I loved that image. So I'm wondering, Corinna, I want to talk more about the cookbook, especially because I'm a total foodie and I just love talking about anything food. But I want to know, because our healing touch journeys take us places. So I'm curious how, you know, your healing touch journey has rivered you through your life and how it's changed you.
Hmm. It has made a big difference. Is Healing touch for me in the beginning was an understanding of what I already knew but couldn't put into words, especially as I was growing up. I grew up with a mother that was very metaphysical and had an understanding of energy and how it flows. And so that was very much present in our household. I just never knew that it was actually something that existed further out than my household. So when I started taking healing touch classes, I was so curious because they would tell you, okay, so put your hands here and do this and do that. I'm like, oh, that's phenomenal. I know this. This feels so familiar. I want to learn more. And it just kept bringing me back to the heart and back to who I was from such a young age. I learned transcendental meditation when I was about 9 years old. That's when I was introduced to it. And back then, all I could do was complain because I had to sit there for 2 hours as a young kid. And I thought, really? So I didn't know the gold that was being presented and how it would evolve down the road in my life. And so every little bit was like a puzzle from my life that was coming together. And healing touch was one of the big pieces of puzzles because it hasn't become, it is a way of life, right? I don't just do healing touch. It is who I am. It is where I come from. I hold that space for whoever I work with, that there is absolute harmony and balance for them. And I know that that is a possibility for everybody. It's up to the person to take it however far they want to take it. But from my point of view, there is a tremendous sense of calm and peace in returning to that heart space. And that's what I want to share. So every day of my life is healing touch. You know, it helps me stay centered through difficult days and through the days where we have computer gremlins and we get really upset with the systems. It just reminds me that this is supposed to be fun, you know? It's not, yeah, it's a stressor. And yes, we're all kind of finding different ways of tapping into Zoom and all the different platforms, and we're learning for sure. And this year for me has been drinking from a fire hose, especially bringing this book to publication, my goodness. But I really can say that healing touch has kept me on task. And I receive myself once or twice a month a session so that I can stay in that space. And my goodness, I couldn't have better things to say about it. I mean, it's a way of life, and it's an amazing way of life. It really serves well, and not just me, but also those that are around me, because it, you know, I emit that same, like the glow that you said. I want to share that with everybody.
Well, you do, Karina. You just radiate, and you know, I love the image that you gave of the puzzle. You know, the puzzle that we're putting together in life. And when you were talking about healing touch, I thought, well, maybe that's like, you know, the when you get the border and you're like, yes, I've got it. I've got the border. You know, I filling in, but that was the image that I saw, that you know, the healing touch has become that which really holds you in your life. And
Yes, that's a great way of putting it. Yes.
so to the cookbook, I'm curious because this is now, it's been on the market just, I mean, hardly any amount of time, and it's already a bestseller all around the world. So I'm wondering how your healing touch journey has influenced the book, if there's a specific influence of your work.
If anything, it has definitely kept me going. I know I had mentioned to you I was in the publishing world before in my corporate days. That was one of the things. I used to do marketing and publishing, and I thought, oh, this is going to be wonderful. I know what there is to know, and it's going to be so easy, and everything is great. And I really do think if I didn't have that constant of healing touch, I would have veered away from it. I would have given up probably, because it was a challenge. I mean, a great challenge. I also discovered through the nuances of allowing spirit to come through in healing touch, right? I had a lot of epiphanies. I had 3 major epiphanies that actually, because this is not only a cookbook, but it's also a memoir, it took me back to places where I thought, oh, I had forgotten all about this. How does this fit into my life now? And all of these things started developing from those aha moments. And it was, in the beginning, it was like a little rocky, but I kept it together. And, I'll come back to the regular habit of receiving sessions of self-care, even as a practitioner. It is so imperative to keep yourself in a place of resilience and not allow yourself to be drained, right? And the only way we can do that is just to keep receiving. We know we're good at this and we know we love to do it, but that doesn't mean we're above the stressors and the chaos that happens in the world. We all get challenged. And so healing touch has definitely been one of the main ingredients, so to speak, in really keeping me to task and keeping that smile on my face. I really believe that we're here to thrive, not just survive. And I think anybody and everybody should have that gift. And that healing touch is one way to get there, and in a really good way, a really calming, centering, balancing. I mean, it's just amazing.
Well, and as you're speaking, I'm just listening to you also just acknowledge that the healing process is everywhere.
Yes.
It's everywhere. Every moment is an opportunity to heal, to have and look for aha moments, to mine our life for, opportunities for healing. And in the book, this memoir cookbook, you mentioned food as healing. And I'm curious about that philosophy, food as healing, and how it shows up in your book and how it shows up in your life and your history.
I believe that cooking, first of all, is creative, right? Everybody is creative in a different way, from making a sandwich to making the most complicated meal. It doesn't matter what you do. There's a creativity that comes from within. And given not all of us are, cooks, chefs, some of us are the ones that are lucky to be served by those people, and that's great too. But that creativity gets expressed from our second chakra. It's something that is churning inside of us and has the opportunity to show up as a beautiful meal. But beyond that, it is also, for me, the opportunity to nourish my family in many different ways. I put my love into cooking. A food that is cooked while you're having a great day and you're thinking of your loved ones has a very different energy than something that is cooked under, an angry day, or everybody has bad days, right? And I tell you, there have been times where I have tried to put something together, and I know in my head I know how to cook, but no way. If I was having a bad day, it just doesn't come out right. It doesn't taste the same. It's the same recipe. You know it. You've done it so many times, and yet the outcome is just like, bah, what was that today? So there is that healing opportunity. First of all, there's an intention that comes through while you're cooking. Secondly, because our whole family believes that food is nourishment, and nourishment for the soul, nourishment for the body, nourishment for the spirit, right? Whether we like it or not, we are in this dimensional world where, food and body is something that needs to be tended to. So one serves the other. I do believe that taking the time to explore and have fun in the kitchen is also important. It doesn't just have to be, it's 1 cup of that and 2 teaspoons of that. Okay, great, got it. Have fun with it. My gosh, it's all about creativity. So what if it doesn't come out right? Next time it'll come out better, right? It's not a competition, it's an expression. And that's where that healing comes. I really do believe that. It's a phenomenal how many emotions it can soothe, right? How it can calm somebody, how it can take care of anxiety, how it can feed the need inside of you to be nourished, to be taken care of, and to be just to receive, right? We all are learning how to receive better, and this is one way to allow yourself to receive something nourishing.
Oh my gosh, I love that answer. That was probably the best answer of any question I've ever asked. I especially was thinking about, I know this is a little manipulative and probably not where you were going with this, but I was thinking, yeah, if I'm in a bad mood, I don't have to cook. I could say, honey, I'm in a really crappy mood today, so my food's not going to taste good. You should probably do the cooking. So I know that's not where you were going with that, but
well,
there's another option for those of us.
You're not too far off. There's been days where I've asked my husband, like, can you just take care of dinner? I really had a long, long day, and I'm not energetically there, and yeah. I'm lucky enough that he can jump in and do that. And sometimes the kids do, because they love to cook, and they are not afraid to express themselves. They'll go in there and they'll just throw stuff together. It's like, well, I never thought of that combination, but it's delicious. Good job. Keep going,
Fish and corn. Way to go. Oh my gosh, that's adorable. So I'm curious also, Corinna, because you talked about or shared with me earlier just about how this cookbook also has evolved around allergy-friendly populations and tending to your own health and the health of your family. So I'm curious about, your interpretation of the energetics of allergies.
Yes, great question. Having worked 2 decades in the energy field and seeing it from different places and seeing it from our own family, actually, I have noticed that allergies, while many of them are environmental triggers, many of them also are people and situational triggers, right? Mm-hmm. So they will touch us deep down in a way that an emotion is produced, and the body reacts to that emotion by not doing well with certain, foods. And so this is an interesting story. I developed, I don't really have celiac, but I'm definitely very close to that. I never had an issue with food. In Greece, we really love bread because we bake a lot of fresh bread, and it's that warm bread that comes out of the oven and you crack it open and the steam comes out right. It's just like, oh. And at some point when they told me, it's like, well, you should give up gluten. I was like, what? There's no way. And I always used to bake my own bread too. So it was like, okay, well, I can work around this. Let me see what I can do. So I started noticing that when I would go back home to Greece, because we'd go home every year, when I eat wheat over there, nothing happens to me. I don't have any symptoms at all. When I come over here, it's a completely different story. My body reacts. So I started working with the emotional part of it, and I did have some breakthroughs in understanding. And even though I still haven't quite moved completely through the gluten-free, and at this point I don't need to because I pretty much cook everything gluten-free as a habit right now. But I noticed what was going on with my brain that was feeding my heart and my body saying, oh, you don't want to go there. Remember what this is all about? And I thought, well, this is very interesting. So certain people would trigger that feeling. And I noticed when I was around them, I would feel even worse. And also the same thing happened with dairy, and not just with myself, but with other members of the family. And dairy is something that's very soothing to the body, right? If you think of warm milk and you think of milk chocolate, and these are things that we go to when we want to feel soothed. And so I started understanding what was going on, and this is what I love about what I do is not only can I approach it from the energy medicine part, but I can approach it from a dietary information that I have accumulated over the years myself and help somebody move through, because allergies are something that we can move through when we start understanding the underlying cause, the emotion that goes with it, and how we can, through the heart, move through that emotion and neutralize it and allow it to become something that's powerful for us, right? It's like vulnerability. Vulnerability for me was big this year, and that shows up through food as well. So like you said, you're a foodie, I'm a foodie. That's being vulnerable to food in so many ways, right? And writing this book and getting ready to publish it, I found so many ways of almost being allergic to the idea of getting it out into the world. And I thought, oh, isn't that interesting? So that's how I look at allergies. It's like something that, once again, is communication from the body asking us to fix or to take care of something that is not working or hasn't worked for a long time. And so with care and, a heart approached, what's it called, energy medicine sort of background, I like to just dive into that gently and take it from that point of view and allow it to flourish into whatever it is that needs to be addressed.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm curious, Corinna, if you would share maybe one of your favorite recipes from your book, or a childhood story from the memoir part, maybe take the cover, open the cover a little, give us a little glimpse of what's in there.
Well, I have the book right here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it because the camera sometimes, well, you can sort of see it.
Beautiful.
I'm so excited. I finally got my books yesterday. I was waiting for my stash. In going through and editing and proofing the book, I noticed in how many of my recipes I say, this is one of my favorite recipes. And I thought, wow, okay. I guess I am a foodie. But one story comes to mind, and it's so funny when I think back. Every Saturday, my mother would cook schnitzel, which is like breaded, back then it was breaded veal, pound really thin, and she would make like little medallions, not too big, and she would bread them and then fry them and make a fresh batch of homemade fries. And my dad loved this. We would sit on the table, and every Saturday that's what we had. And that's definitely one of those, comfort foods for sure. But what was funny about it is that we would always have a competition to see who could eat the most pieces of schnitzel. And I remember one day, I don't know how we didn't explode. We each had 14 pieces. And I was close to being a teenager. I was a teenager, I guess. And yeah, you can never feed a teenager too much. That's true. But I was thinking back, I'm like, oh my gosh. either each one of us could not take one more piece. So it ended up being a wash. It was like, oh, well, but 14 pieces. I thought this was just so hilarious. And then there came a point where I would hear snitch and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to see it again.
Is it Saturday already?
But now, guess what? It's my family's favorite meal. The kids love schnitzel. My husband loves schnitzel. Like, what are the odds? It's just one of those things that continues on. It's hilarious.
Oh my God, that's lovely. Oh, Corinna, this has been so much fun. Before we go, will you tell people how to find your book, where to order your book, what it's called? I'll put a link in, but I just want to give you a chance to talk about your baby.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So my website, which is healthawarenesscoach.com, if you go to /cooking, there is a place there where you can learn more about our cooking classes, our cooking events, and everything that we do with cooking. We're coming up with a different menu right now, and there's always a rotating recipe, a free recipe at the bottom of the page. So if you go in each month, you'll have a different recipe to print out. So that's kind of a plus right there. You can also sign up through there to follow and get emails about the cookbook and the cooking events. It is also, the book is available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. It's supposed to be in Target and Walmart, local bookstores, any book nooks for that matter. So I think it just came out November 30th. It's going to take a while to hit all of those places, but it will be available everywhere. But as of now, you can definitely order it online. There is also an ebook version, and I'm not sure if that has been released yet, but it should be coming close behind. So for those millennials out there that have the gift of going through an ebook, I can't do it, but make it available. Why not? So there's that as well. And kind of funny, but ever since I finally wrapped this up and I said, okay, this is it, I'm going to put this out, there's been so many recipes that are coming to my mind. So there might be a number 2 coming out soon. Who knows?
I hope so. I cannot wait to order your book, Corinna. I think I'm going to order one for my mom and my friend Christy, who we just traveled to Greece last year, who's one of the
That's wonderful.
Beautiful places I've ever been. So.
Thank you. And so on Facebook too, you can find me. And also on Facebook, the actual cooking classes and everything else that's cooking is under Karma Cook. And we have a Facebook page under Karma Cook, but we don't have a web page on that one yet. But you can find us there as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Corinna. Thank you for this gift to the world. Thank you for you. Thank you for sharing in all of these lovely ways with our community. I know that we're all grateful to have you support.
It was my pleasure.
Way.